but it was the perfect culmination of finally kind of putting my Babson and entrepreneurship hat on. It was a heavy events role, so letting my career kind of and skill set shine. And then when I came back, I was adamant that I was to do something that was going to impact the city.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whenever you may be listening, and welcome to Latitude, the 43 North podcast. I'm your host, Nate Benson, Director of Media and Public Relations at 43 North, and I am joined this week by the incredibly wonderful Colleen Heidinger. Hi, Colleen. How are you today?
Hi, Nate. We're
Colleen,
in the final 2 weeks.
We were able to carve out a half hour in our very busy schedules to have a chat this week about 43 North finals. Why don't you give everyone a quick rundown of who you are and what you do at 43 North?
Sure. So I'm Colleen. I've been here. This is my fourth finals, so over 3 years at 43 North, and just about 4 years back in Buffalo. So my role has probably evolved more than anyone's since I've been here. In terms of when I came on, it was very event heavy. We were doing a lot of events, and I think that was because we were still creating our own brand. Mm-hmm. Now we've cut down there and really built up finals.
So, life before 43 North. You were a First Ward girl, right?
Yep.
So you know everybody or related to everybody in the First Ward, right?
Yep. A good thing and a bad thing.
A blessing and a curse, especially
Depends
around the
on
holidays.
The day. Yes.
Left Buffalo for college. Where'd you go?
So I went out to Boston, actually a suburb of Boston, to Babson College.
Okay. Studied
entrepreneurship, very small school of 1,600.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes from downtown.
Why entrepreneurship? Why, out of college, that's not something, or out of high school rather, that's not something folks go for, especially when we were, we're about the same age. We won't say the age on air. But back in our day, entrepreneurship wasn't a thing that guidance counselors pressed on us. So how did you come into that?
Yeah, it was interesting because Babson is all business. You don't really go there and figure it out. You have to be committed to business. So, and my guidance counselors were quite pressing on that. I knew I wanted a big city. I knew I wanted a smaller school. And I've always had a dream of opening my own business. So that was kind of the start of it. And actually, Babson was like my stretch school. Mm-hmm. And, our counselors forced us, like safety schools, ones they were pretty confident you get into, and then ones that you really, on paper, didn't belong at. And I actually was committed to a school in Chicago and then got the big package from Babson and still owe my parents the deposit they lost in Chicago because I switched to Babson.
Hopefully they're not listening, so they may have forgotten that by this point.
Yeah.
You said you had a dream of always opening a business. How did that dream kind of begin to ferment for you, and when?
Yeah, so I guess technically I'm not a business owner yet. I will say I have an LLC papers about to be filed and a logo in the works, so I'm getting there. My work with Ignite certainly has spurred some of that, and just watching everyone else in this community, take a risk and create the side hustle. It's been inspiring for me. So every step I'm in the process for sure.
And for those aren't familiar with the reference Colleen just made, Ignite Buffalo was a program we did with Facebook over the summer, and Amazon and M&T Bank. We have a podcast about that in our archive, so go check that out. So after Babson, you went to Hollywood.
Well, I went to Manhattan.
Manhattan first.
It was in entertainment in New York. And actually, that's incorrect. I went into consulting like everyone else does at Babson. Okay. And
that sounds thrilling.
Hated it. It was like either you were an investment banker, consultant, or accountant.
Nothing like trusting a recent college grad as a consultant, by the way, but that's a whole separate topic.
Yeah. So that was just not for me.
Sure.
So I had a roommate in New York that said, you know what, this company's hiring global production company. It was an assistant role, which, for someone coming out of Babson with this fancy diploma, coming from a place where I had an assistant, it was like a little bit of a, but it worked out because I was hired to support two North American leaders, and within my first week of getting there, one resigned. So then the one that I was with said, now it's up to you to fill your time with us, that other half of your role, figure out what you want to do here. Essentially make your own career. So that's when I would join meetings and people would take me under their wing, and, you know, some things I loved, some things I didn't love. And that's really where my event planning kind of, what was a little bit of a hobby, doing prom and little things in college, allowed to take off.
So in the event planning space at this company, then you grew into event planning roles for American Idol and Dreamworks, correct?
Yeah, so the company I work for, Fremantle Media, they global television production company based out of London, headquartered in the U.S. in Los Angeles. So we had a pretty small office in New York, actually. And we did produce American Idol and X Factor and America's Got Talent and Family Feud and Price is Right.
Some small shows that did very low in the ratings. Who knows if they're even on anymore?
God. So we did, and we produced them both domestically and also internationally. So there were events all over the place. And as they grew, a role evolved, a dedicated full-time role for events evolved in the U.S., and that's essentially what I grew into.
You know, not a lot of people are familiar with what a producer actually does. You know, in one of my favorite movies, Wag the Dog, Dustin Hoffman's character is an executive producer, and he's doing literally everything from actually directing to editing and all this kind of stuff. So what, you know, for the listeners, when you say producing, you're helping produce these things, what were you doing?
Yeah.
Because it really was like a hodgepodge of everything, right?
It all. From venue selection to invite creation to, just handling the talent alone, press, media, arrivals, departures, car service.
All the work that somehow magically gets done and nobody knows how.
Nobody knows what goes into it. Yeah. But I loved it because I love the details. I love, honestly, being behind a curtain and not on stage. It's I prefer to see the work come to life and watch it from the side versus being front and center.
So how'd you end up back in Buffalo?
Yeah, so I that company moved me out west, and then they actually had to let me go because Idol had started to come down. X Factor wasn't doing what we wanted in the U.S. So in terms of a lot of the events we were doing were sponsor related. So a Garnier, a Ford, a AT&T, wrap parties, launch parties, top 24 parties, whatever it was. So I got laid off by them after 7 years, and then landed at Dreamworks through a friend at Fremantle and was on their special events team. So similar work, I would say, larger budgets and more posh.
A lot of sorting M&Ms, I imagine. Right?
And doing it in the movie world. So it was neat to kind of flip to the other side, Cannes Film Festival, some stuff in Asia. But again, same skill set, trade shows, corporate events, retreats, premieres.
And was LA life did you finally just say enough, I want to go home?
Yeah. 70 and sun is great. You know, I live near the beach, so that was life.
Sure.
But
seasons are also nice too.
Yeah, they are. Or different wardrobes. I spent some time in Africa for my 30th birthday, and I just had this, I know it sounds so cliche, but I had like a wake-up call that life is too short to do something you don't care about. Yeah. And working 16, 18-hour days on something I don't care about, which is television and film, because I don't have cable. And
you don't go to the movies.
Yeah, I fall asleep at the movies. So I still have free passes from Dreamworks from 5 years ago in my wallet. That I literally haven't been in the movies in 5 years. So it's just like enough is enough. And then with everything going on back in Buffalo, and I was quite well updated on that through my brother, I was like, I'm just going to give it a shot. So I was
Your
in
brother,
Africa.
by the way, Sean Heidinger, who's also on our podcast.
Before me.
But before you, which I heard about. I heard about that for a while. Thanks for bringing that memory back up. No, so head the archives, and Sean's the curator over at DIG, which is here in the Innovation Center as well. So he was keeping you in the loop.
Yeah, certainly, and is an entrepreneur himself. So it was just neat to watch him, you know, be groomed through the Buffalo kind of business culture and entrepreneurial culture. And yeah, by the time I got home from Africa and was out of Dreamworks, it was just under a month.
Wow.
Moved back in with the parents, no health insurance, no job.
Which is what you want really at 30.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Adulting is fun.
Right, yeah. And of course, you know, I'm sure your parents didn't bring that up, at least on your birthday. Maybe waited a few weeks and like, hey, what are you going to do? Yeah. So, being the father in the room, what did you do and how did you end up at 43 North?
Yeah, so I just started networking. I actually give myself a little bit of time off to honestly hang with my grandmother at the
Yeah.
beach, and then, like 3 weeks, and then was connecting back with people from high school, taking any coffee meeting or lunch meeting I could manage. I had kept pretty good contact with important people to me in Buffalo, so
I noticed I didn't get any phone calls. Okay.
so I was just reconnecting with people and sharing my story and trying to network around the town as much as I could. And then Sharon Rendascio has been my mentor since high school. She's actually the first that ever took me to New York, and had been with me throughout my career. And she called one day and she said, "I think I've got it." And it was this total coincidence that the October before, I was her guest as a VIP to the 43 North Finals.
Okay.
So I had been there, and I knew when she called and said this 43 North thing. But it was the perfect culmination of finally kind of putting my Babson and entrepreneurship hat on, it was a heavy events role, so letting my career kind of and skill set shine. And then when I came back, I was adamant that I was to do something that was going to impact the city. I wasn't going to be in a suit in a cube 9 to 5 watching the clock tick. It was so if that meant opening my own, I was open to anything, but just not like a boring job. So yeah, I interviewed, I met John for like 10 minutes, and he said, "Okay, I want you to meet the team." I met the team at the time, and then Sharon called me and said, "It's down to 2 of you, and I've recommended both of you." So she's like, "I've kind of done everything I can to get you through.
It's in other hands now."
Yes, you've done really well. So then John called me and he's like, "I worked the budget to hire you both."
Oh, there you go.
And now I think he called Jordy at the time and said, if I can, I'd like to hire them both. So it was actually Dan Green and I that came on board a week apart, and no looking back.
Name dropping everybody who's been on this podcast. Dan Green,
Oh, yeah.
go in that archive. Green Dives In, one of my favorite episodes. So you and Dan join. When? Give us timeline
Like
here.
March 20.
So right around the time we would have historically launched. The
Yeah, it was that my
competition.
first week we launched.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
slow week.
Because I was like ironing tablecloths and just helping with
So, kind of shifting gears a little bit into what we're talking about is the planning of finals. So, it takes 5 or 6 days for you to plan the 43 North Finals. I mean, it's just a bunch of people on stage, right? Obviously.
Yeah, everyone just shows up. I was actually looking through my email this week. I had conference calls with potential finals judges in April and May.
Yeah. So almost a year-long process, at least 8 months at the very least.
8 months ago.
What's changed in terms of just the way you approach finals from that first year? Because you're the fundamental key organizer and I call you the executive producer of finals. I mean, that's really what you're doing. Producing finals that first year versus what producing it now. What's changed? What's gotten more refined? Kind of walk us through what you've noticed about finals.
Yeah, I mean, people ask, it must just be so easy now that this is your 4th year. And I will say there's definitely comfort and knowledge of how it works and where things are going to go wrong. We've added this whole new venture capitalist and investor track, so we use them to come in as judges. That was new 2 years ago. We now have 40 confirmed coming in and a wait list. So that to me is something I'm very proud of in terms of getting the right people to Buffalo to help kind of see our scene. This year, a big difference will be the fact that we streamlined a lot of it. So in years past, we were jamming literally Thursday night to Thursday night with an event every day.
Yeah, 43 North Week as they called it.
Yeah, and I think we were taxing ourselves incredibly. I mean, when I'd get to the Shays stage, I really wouldn't be seeing straight, just out of pure exhaustion. And also the community. There's no reason why we needed to have
a dozen events
back to back.
Sure.
We could be spreading this love across the year. So doing that has, I think, helped the staff immensely, and just really allowed me to put the attention I want to put into Shays and really think through every minute, every second of that show, what needs to happen, where, all the things that go into that. So, it feels better. That week is about us giving away $5 million, and that's really what we should be focusing on. And for everyone that's a part of it, from the finalists coming in, to the venture capitalists coming in, to the community, our community that joins that Shays, we're right this year in that we've streamlined it to just focus on that.
what are the challenges of making it an entertaining show? Because it's a lot of, it's a lot of inside baseball that not a lot of people, understand. Venture funding and, startups. I mean, there's a lot of it that just the general public sometimes doesn't get. And we have a pretty niche audience of like the business community's obviously got a vested interest in 43 North, but this is open to the public, and we do get a large percentage of the audience from just the general public.
Yeah, it's a lot that goes into it.
I mean, obviously adding me to the show was for the entertainment standpoint was incredible.
We laugh. I mean, it's easy and it's hard because when we have 10 pitches and at 2 minutes apiece plus 4 minutes of Q&A, that's an hour right there. Then you have to leave a half hour for deliberation, so that's an hour and a half, and you add some introductions and some reminiscing of the years past. I mean, people want to know how our previous winners are. They want to know about our programming, So it fills up fast, is what I'll say. There's not a ton of room for
something new.
Yeah, I mean, we do so much as an organization that it's not hard to fill the little time that's left with information about what we're doing here or kind of wins we need to celebrate as a community. So it comes together quite well.
And just kind of it's making that content year to year,
unique,
different and change.
Yeah.
And
not
like
just
what didn't work last year, versus what could work this year.
Or what have we never shed light on as an organization? So this year for us, that's our mentor and advisor program. It's
unsung heroes of the incubator. I mean, these guys are in with the 4th North winners, days if not weeks.
Late
every
nights.
single week. Yeah, late nights. I think of like Bob with Campus
God,
Labs. He's literally with Kangaroo Time. I think right now, just he's here multiple times a week. Helping them out.
Yeah, it's so early on we identified that as something we wanted to showcase this year, so we included that, or Ignite as well, a new program that we took on. I think most people have heard of it and knew we did it in June, but what has come of it, right? Or what are some of the stories? So just taking some of those kind of pieces of what we do here and packaging them around an hour of pitches, and keeping it under 2 hours. And
keeping it entertaining and keeping people kind of in it. And you certainly don't want to go more than 2 hours, because then you get into like people needing to use the restroom and antsy and just get on with it already. Stop talking and applauding and all those things.
We as a team watch the show specifically to just consider applause. So hopefully there'll be less of that this year. We've written it so we don't cue the audience to be applauding as much as in the past.
Yeah, cleverly, if you see a video, that's just because we want to plow through some information so the audience doesn't applaud.
No one's supposed to know that.
I mean, sorry. No, it's to show off my talents as a video guy.
Yes.
So what can we expect? So, I haven't decided if I want to go to finals yet this year. Why should I go? What can I expect? What will be my takeaway?
Yeah, I think general inspiration, and if you are familiar or not familiar with 43 North, you'll leave understanding what we've done here and what we intend to do, what our next class of winners will be doing. We also celebrate other successes and big wins for the entrepreneurial community. So it's a well-rounded story that we tell about Buffalo as to what's happening here.
I think, that's one thing that should be noted. It's like we're fully aware as an organization. Like it's not just us. Like we play a small role in a very bigger ecosystem that is moving and changing and morphing all the time. And this is a higher profile event, so it's a great way for us to kind of highlight everybody else's wins too.
Yeah, we are certainly one of many.
Yeah,
and we could have a days-long event just acknowledging the many people in this community that go above and beyond to help our ecosystem. So
there's two separate kind of components of this. You have your morning, afternoon pitches and the evening pitches. Now, talk to us about the differences of those and why you might want to go to one versus the other.
Yeah, so the morning will start at 8 a.m. and all 18 finalists will pitch for 5 minutes, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A from those venture capitalists and investors we have coming in.
Well, so over, how many was it? 40? Yeah, so from all across North America.
Yeah, including Canada. So those are longer pitches and then obviously longer sets of Q&A. So if you're interested in any particular industry or companies, they're all listed on our website. That's where you can find more. They'll be going much deeper dive in those pitches and Q&A
much
sessions.
More drawn out, more informational than you'll see in the evening, right?
Right. and they're just going to roll. We'll just be taking names at the door. There's no registration needed for that. It's very come and go. So if you just have a lunch break or want to pop in for a few, that's great. We have a lot of students, about 600 students coming to that as well. So it makes for a great field trip, actually. So that'll be the morning. That'll run till about 2 p.m. We'll get through all 18. And then in the evening, doors will open at 5, and we'd like people in seats by 1:45, because otherwise we're going to start filling them with other folks.
Yeah.
We're very close to sold out.
Less than 20% of the tickets are left,
Yes,
from what I understand.
Amazingly.
Yeah.
And we partnered with Ticketmaster this year, so everyone will have an assigned seat.
Yep.
When you go online to get them, you go to Ticketmaster and pick your own seat. So we've stepped up that game.
And still free.
Still free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no surcharges or any of that. So yeah, I think that will help streamline kind of that opening hour when you go and you have a seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just like any show you've gone to at Shays, you just go to your seat, enjoy the show.
Yeah, get a program on the way in. Yeah, it'll be neat, and we'll be out by 8.
8:15, and not this year. We did not double book with the Sabres opener, so that's a win.
That was also something Shays was booked in February, and then of course the Sabres schedule came out in June. So due to that new guy that they have,
some young guy.
Everyone in Buffalo want to go see play. We did move from the Thursday night to the Wednesday, so that'll also be interesting too.
Yeah,
and we have a few different kind of not after parties, but we've partnered with 4 local restaurants right outside of the doors of Shays to offer discounts. So folks want to go to dinner or have a drink after. Hearth and Press, Expo, Dinosaur Barbecue, and Soho will all have little discounts here and there. So just bring your ticket.
That's fantastic. And, great way to also give back to local businesses as well.
Exactly.
So how are you holding up? The pressures of planning.
Yeah, I know. Now it's just like the little things that come up. Someone calls and they miss a flight, or we need to change something in the show.
Producing a show, again, it's people think it's a very strict format. I mean, these things are living, breathing organisms.
Evolving. Yeah, we have it's interesting with new staff because they think we have this plan and then it's set, and then I have to explain, oh no, that's changed, and it's going to change 10 more times between now and when we go live. So it's just handling that and not taking anything changes personally and managing the expectations of our team and the board and the community.
What is your general takeaway once it's all said and done?
Well, so remember in years past, it's been that full week of events. So typically I'm beyond exhausted, but
you're
so
physically
weird.
With us.
Yeah, I'm physically with you, beyond exhausted, but so proud because it doesn't really hit me at Shays what's really going on. It's the next day is typically that morning. Like when every year I stay at the hotel with the finalists, so I get up and I go to the Starbucks for coffee, and I'm always looking at the cover of the paper to see where we landed. And it's almost that moment where I'm like, oh my God, like we did this last night. We're going to have 8 new best friends January 1st. So typically like after our work's done that day, I go home and it's like you're so lonely because you've spent a whole week with people literally and you're like staying together. Yeah. But you're so proud that you want to like go tell everyone, but you're so exhausted that so you lay in bed and like toss and turn, and it's like it's this crazy rush of emotion. But honestly, I'm more proud of the opportunity that I have to do such a thing, but also like the goodness that it is for Buffalo.
So one fun thing that happened last year, and a lot of people have come up to us and said, "Oh my God, that was such a great plan and trick." And we've, this talk about being fluid and working on formats of the show to solve potential problems. The shtick in videos last year, for those who weren't there, was I was, quote unquote, reporting from outside of Shays. And people afterwards were like, oh, how'd you get a live feed from Shays? I'm like, guys, we recorded it days earlier and just, didn't you notice the light was different? Okay, anyway. And I got locked out of the building. I missed the pitches. There was a moment where they were about to announce the winners, and we didn't have them.
I wish we had a camera then. So I honestly don't remember, but so I was like running all over the place trying to find Dan.
And we've got IFBs and walkie-talkies. We're like, get Dan, we need to get down here.
In Slack, texting, calling, on the headset.
Where are the winners?
Yeah, that was
So poor John Gavigan's is
Poor John.
dying on stage. He's like, John Colm was like, hey, Pominville just scored, because he's checking his phone at this point. So I just ran on stage like, wait, that none of that was planned. I want to reveal the gag now. None of that was planned. I happened by chance, because my wardrobe was very limited, happened to be wearing the same thing I was wearing in those videos. Completely by accident.
I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And ran out and like bought us a minute or two, and then even still that wasn't enough time.
It felt like forever. He's trying to tee up John was like asking
tee
my
up the
brother.
DJ.
But
the judges were deliberating. Yeah, I mean
it was just
contested deliberation.
Yeah, and so it is. This year, I can tell already, it will not be an easy decision. I mean, we essentially have two decisions to make: one, who wins the $1 million, and two, which 2 of the 10 won't be winning a prize. Which seems simple, but you have 7 very high caliber, opinionated, who have incredible experience. So when you put them all in a room, this year we hope we found a way to streamline it and run the conversation a bit better. We've changed a few logistics in the back, just even to where they deliberate. And
so one of the new things this year on stage is actually important to our listeners. So we're going to be doing a live edition of the podcast within the show of finals this year with the winner, the follow-on funding winner. So one of the companies we're currently incubating right now who won last year, they apply for $300,000 in follow-on funding from 43 North. Now, of course, the caveat to this is none of them know who won.
None of us know.
And I don't know.
I don't know.
Who. So, this will be a great opportunity to watch a grown man potentially fail on stage. Interviewing someone he doesn't know he's got to interview yet. But it's it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very probably emotional because these winners are not going to know they're winning until they're announced that night. And then, get on stage and do a live interview in front of 3,000 people. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to it. So, if you hadn't decided if you wanted to go and that was the selling point, then great.
I think it'll be neat because 7 of our winners of the 8 last year could apply.
Yeah,
because Bethany couldn't. They all applied.
Yeah,
they're all keeping a presence in Buffalo.
Yeah,
or fully intend to.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
So that too was not an easy decision for our executive committee. So hopefully whoever it is will be eager to talk to you about what Buffalo means to them and how they've embraced it. I think in that area we'll dig into more the personal side.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I know enough about everyone where I shouldn't drown on stage.
Time. Yeah.
But even I've got a little I don't know. I hope I have enough questions in the pipeline for this. It should be a very fun night. So how can people get tickets if they want to go? And there's very limited tickets left.
Yeah, I'd say we have about 300 of 3,000 left.
It's going quick.
So just visit our website, 43north.org, and you can click right on the homepage, and it'll take you to the Ticketmaster site.
Massive button that says buy tickets.
They're
free.
They're free.
They're free tickets, but buy tickets. Bye, Sean. Yeah. Sean Heidinger just walked by.
And if you're on the fence, I'd say do it sooner than later because I feel like we're gonna.
It's gonna be a fantastic night in Buffalo. Yourself and your team, Lee and the rest of 43 North team put in a lot of work to make an entertaining show, and you certainly you run a fantastic unit of folks to make sure that gets pulled off, and you're dealing with other vendors, other venues, and stuff like this to all make it the 99 years of this machine work. So kudos to you for all the hard work you do. It's a fantastic show. I had a blast last year. It was my first one. That I got to kind of be behind the curtain and enjoy it, and really looking forward to this year. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you for coming on the podcast. And again, head on over to 43north.org. Reserve your tickets before they are gone. And it's safe to say they will be gone very, very soon. So for 43 North, I'm Nate Benson. Thank you again for Colleen, for joining me this week. And we will see you at the next one.